Donald Trump's pick for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth will be on Capitol Hill tomorrow. He has faced serious criticism for saying that women should not have combat roles in the military. Well, earlier this afternoon, I sat down with former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, for a Palace Foundation event at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg Center for his take on women in combat and a whole lot of other very important topics. Watch this. What's your take on women in combat in the military? Yay or nay?
Women have been in combat, and it doesn't matter if that 7.62 hits you in the chest. No one gives a if it's a woman or a guy who pulled that trigger. You're still dead. So if you meet the standards, our military must be and always should be a standards-based, merit-based military, period, full stop. It doesn't matter if you're white, if you're black, if you're a man, if you're a woman, if you're a Catholic, if you're a Protestant. None of those identification things matter. What matters are standards, readiness standards. Do you meet the standard or not? If yes, pass go, collect 200, join the infantry.
You have expressed repeatedly your concerns that the U.S. is not modernizing our military fast enough. Right. Donald Trump is looking to appoint Elon Musk to run this new Department of Government Efficiency.
Yep.
Do you think, A, the Pentagon can use something like that?
If you have an alternative way of doing it and it's better, then by all means. I think, personally, and I've thought this for years, the Pentagon needs very systemic, deep, broad, and wide-ranging reform. If all you're going to do is come in with a wrecking ball and just blow things apart, then what you're going to get is rubble. And if that's what you want, that's awesome if you want rubble. But that's not going to defend the United States.
With me tonight, Kevin Barron, national security analyst and journalist. He spent more than 20 years in Washington's defense, national security, and foreign affairs scene. All right, let's talk about a few things we just talked about there. I mean, he was so passionate and definitive about women in combat. He almost laughed. And he was like, can I tell you how many women have been serving this country for years and years and years? Do you actually think that this Trump administration could go after this, removing women from combat? Like, is this something I almost said a hill to die on, and that's a bad comparison, but this seems nonsensical.
I think it would. You know, there's what you can say politically, and then there's the actual process of changing government, right? And to do things like open up jobs for women in combat, open up jobs for gays from the military, trans in the military, blacks in the military, all of these social progress, moves over the years. They require a lot of prep, and the Pentagon loves to prep. So just for example, when Obama came to office, he came to office promising to end Don't Ask, Don't Tell, open it up to gays in the military. But it took him 2 years to do it. He could have done it on day one with a stroke of a pen, and the Pentagon could have reacted to that. But instead, the Pentagon said, let's have studies, let's put it out to the field, let's find the right moment in Congress to get this through. And a lot of that was then Defense Secretary Gates saying, we need to have the Pentagon's buy-in, the Hill's buy-in, otherwise it's all going to be in Obama. This is like the reverse of that. So sure, the commander-in-chief on day one could, with the stroke of a pen, say no more of this. But it would be removing thousands of women out of their job. I mean, how many women could go through Ranger School? They can become, infantry officers, go through candidate school. It was only a couple years ago that it was a big news story that the first woman went through Ranger School. Does anybody know how many women have gone through Ranger School? No, because it's working and it's fine. It's not, and he's right. This is such a non-issue that has come up. I'm sure they don't know what to do with it.
But this goes back to sort of what you were saying. Like, to get something done, it is a huge, long process. But that's the opposite of what Donald Trump wants to do here. And you heard we talked about Elon Musk. Elon Musk does want to go and clean it up. And there may be things to clean up, right? Milley said we need deep reform. But if you take a wrecking ball to it, all you're going to have is rubble.
Yeah, Pentagon reform it's as old as the Pentagon practically, but usually it means getting weapons to the field faster, reforming the archaic systems or all the rules that Washington puts in place, usually to protect taxpayers, to protect people, but it's a slow process in an age of super fast technology. And yes, it's a massive bureaucracy. I spent years working inside the Pentagon as a Pentagon press corps, denizen, and trust me, there's got to be a few thousand people out of the 30 there that you could cull somehow. But again, to end the idea of ending women in combat, where are you going to start? the helicopter pilots, the women who are on ships, the women on submarines, the women who are actually trigger pullers now. It just doesn't happen like that, and it goes kind of against. A lot of us are talking about a lot of these moves that the incoming Trump administration wants to do go against this kind of tide of progress. And for women in combat, the line that a lot of people would say often was, look at the Israelis, or look at all the other militaries in the world that have had women in combat all the time, especially militaries like those where there's national conscription, for example.
You mean those countries that actually had a woman leader, something that we can't seem to get over the hump on?
What year was Golda Meir?
When I asked him about the idea of potentially getting court-martialed, he kind of brushed it off like, oh, let's see what happens. But there must be a chill inside the military right now. Or when you think about sort of the next generation who are thinking about going into it, how's that impacting people?
I would have asked him about getting executed. That's what Trump said, that he should be executed.
Yes.
And it's one of these things, did he mean it? Did he not mean it? I have been thinking about the chill and the idea, look, the Pentagon likes to say that the military is a reflection of the American people. Kind of not so much. Everyone, is known for a while. The military recruits from its own community. So it's a bit of a self-serving demographic, right? If you live near Fayetteville, the big bases, if you live near, 29 Palms or someplace like that. It's not everywhere. And so it does take purposeful recruiting, and there's like science behind what they do to make sure they have all they need. And the Pentagon also gets a different slice of the American pie depending on the times. If the economy is good, then they get fewer poorer Americans because there are jobs to be had. When the economy is bad, people go to the military. It's an easier job. When there are wars happening, a lot of minorities go, not for me. We did a lot of studies back in the Iraq and Afghanistan days that said, are blacks and other minorities joining at a lower rate because they disagree with the war in Afghanistan or Bush's war in Iraq? Turned out they started declining joining the military the day of 9/11 happened, because for blacks at the time, coming out of the post-Cold War peace area, joining the military was a way to get a quick paycheck, to get a leg up, to make your way into college. It was purposely, as by design, helped create that mirror of the American society. But it changes when the country's at war. It changes when there's inflation, or when, we're not at a time where people it's just not forefront in kids' minds.
The general said something else that stuck with me. Watch this.
Bottom line is, breathe deep. America's going to be okay. There's a lot of waves out there, but this is a big, strong country, 380 million people, great institutions, great people, great workforce, and a great younger cohort of people that are going to protect America.
Do you share his optimism?
I mean,
that was a great message.
It's hard, it's hard not to follow, Milley can be so gregarious and positive like that, and I'm sure he believes it. And if you believe in America's institutions, then yes, look, I've said too in the last few years, we went through the Black Lives Matter protest years, but they weren't the level of violence of 1968. And people have talked about it. What if our country went to civil war? We're a long way from the actual civil war this country lived through for 4 years. So if and I know Milley's a massive historian, he's a massive reader,
sure is.
And if he's thinking, this country can get through things like World War II, like the Civil War, or like he likes to talk about his father with the flag coming off Iwo Jima and his own experience, then sure, America can get through this, but man, is it going to be a tough ride.